All right, so we'll continue on with SREB, Ready for High School Math, lesson 2.2a on solving linear two equations. This is part 2. So we talked about how to solve a two-step equation. Okay, so normally a two-step equation is going to be some combination of addition, subtraction, and multiplication, division. And 9 times out of 10, we're going to want to undo the addition, subtraction first, and then knock out the multiplication, division. So number 7, 2/3 of a number decreased by 1/2 is equal to 7/3. Find the missing number. So this time they gave us a phrase. We need to translate that phrase into an equation. So 2/3 of a number decreased by 1/2. Okay, so anytime we see 2/3 of a number, okay, this 2/3 right here, that's going to be a fraction. And 2/3 of a number, anytime we see that of a number means we're going to be multiplying that number by the fraction. Okay, so we could use n to represent our number. Okay, we don't know what it is, so we could use n, we could use x, doesn't matter. So it says that this right here, 2/3 of the number, is decreased by 1/2. That is that 1/2 is being taken away from the 2/3. So we have to subtract 1/2. And this is equal, so we'll write our equal sign, to 7/3. Okay, and 7/3 would just be the fraction 7/3. So we have this equation from this sentence: 2/3 of a number, 2/3 n minus 1/2 equals 7/3. And we need to find the missing number. So we're trying to get n alone. Okay, and so far to n, we got a couple things happening. We've got 1/2 is being subtracted from n, and 2/3 is being multiplied to n. So we're going to knock out this thing that's being added or subtracted first. Okay, so minus 1/2, we're going to add 1/2. Anything we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So we get 2/3 n will be equal to 7/3 plus 1/2. Okay, so just type that in the calculator. Make sure to put both in parentheses. We can type that in. And you should get some kind of a crazy decimal. Okay, and so whenever you get that crazy decimal, hit math, enter. Okay, so I'll type this one in for us. Okay, so when you type this in, you'll do 7/3 in parentheses plus 1/2 in parentheses. And you're going to get 2.83 repeating, which is a nasty number. So then you're going to hit math, enter, enter. And it's going to give you a simplified fraction of 17/6. So now we've got 2/3 times n equals 17/6. We want to get 17/6 alone. So we come back over here. This 2/3 n, that is 2/3 times n. So to undo that, we're going to divide. So we're going to divide both sides by 2/3. Now, anytime we divide by a fraction, always put in parentheses. Just pretty much anytime we're doing anything with fractions, put it in parentheses. So on the left-hand side, we'll cancel it out. I'll bring my answer over here. We'll get n is equal. Okay, so we have 17/6 in parentheses divided by, open parentheses, 2 divided by 3, close. We're going to get 4.25. Now, normally, if we have some kind of a nice decimal answer like this, we could go ahead and leave our answer like this. So we could leave our answer like that, or just to keep it with the fractions, math, enter, enter, and we get 17/4. Okay? So those two, 4.25 and 17/4, those two are equal to each other, just different ways of showing the same number. So whichever answer you prefer is good. All right, number 8. If the measure of the perimeter of the triangle given below is 177 centimeters, what is the value of x? Okay, so for this one, we need a little bit of background knowledge. So we're talking about perimeter of a triangle. Okay, so anytime we talk about perimeter of anything, we're going to be talking about the length of the sides around the triangle, the length of the sides, all added up. Okay, so perimeter just means add up all the sides together, and that's going to be our perimeter. So when we add up all of our sides, we take our first side right here, 2x plus 8, and then we're going to add it to 2x plus 4, and then we're going to add it to x plus 10. And then if we add all three of these up, these three represent the perimeter. And so the other thing that we were given to represent the perimeter is 177. So since both of these values represent the perimeter, we can set them equal. to one another to help us figure out the value of x. Okay, and why do we want to know the value of x? Well, in this problem, knowing the value of x tells me what each individual side's length is. Because right now, all we know is that if I add all three of these sides up, it'll equal 177, but I don't know anything about the individual side lengths. Like, what's the actual length of this bottom side? I don't know unless I solve for x. So that's why we set this equation up, is to help us understand what each side of the triangle is supposed to be. Okay, so we have all this right here. So this is going to wind up being kind of a longer multi-step equation, but it's still just a multi-step equation, a two-step equation, really. So first thing we're going to want to do is combine our like terms. Okay, so when we combine our like terms, basically anything that has an x, we're going to add together, and anything that isn't x, we're going to add together. Okay, so we're going to look. We first have 2x right here, 2x right here, and x right here, or this is understood to be a 1x. If there's no number, it's understood to be 1x. So anything that has an x, we're going to add together. And the way to add them together is you're going to look at the coefficient, okay, the number that is in front. And we're going to add those numbers together. So we have 2x plus 2x plus 1x. So take the coefficients, 1, 2, and 2, add them together. And in total, we have 5 x's. So that's how we'll write it. We'll write it as 5x. Then we're going to take all of the regular numbers, the constants, 8, 4, and 10, and we'll add those together, and that'll give us 22. But we're not putting an x on those, because 8, 4, and 10 don't have an x. So they're just going to be just regular number. And we're going to set that equal to 177. We haven't changed the other side yet. So now we've just taken this great big long thing and condensed it down into two terms. So now we'll work it out like normal. We have 5x plus 22 equals 177. We're trying to get the x alone. So we're going to look for things being added or subtracted, and that's going to be that 22. So to undo adding 22, we're going to subtract 22, and we'll get 5x is equal to 155. And then lastly, to get x alone, we have 5 times x. That's what that 5x is. So to undo that, we're going to do 5x divided by 5 will be 1. Anything we do to one side of the line, we got to do the other. We'll get x is equal to 31. And so now that 31, if we wanted to, we could plug it back in to figure out what the side lengths of each of these are. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this next step. So now that we have found x, what is the measure of each side? Use these measurements to verify that your value for x is correct. So we take this value of x equals 31, and now we're going to drop it down here. Okay, so we were told that x is equal to 31. So now we're going to figure out what each of the sides of this triangle is. Okay, so 2x plus 8. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug in x equals 31. So anywhere there's an x in any of these three equations, we're going to instead put parentheses 31. So the first side, 2x plus 8, will turn into 2 times 31 plus 8. We type this in the calculator exactly as is. We're going to get a value of 70. And this will be 70 centimeters, because we set up here that the perimeter was 177 centimeters. Okay, next up, x plus 10. Anywhere there's an x, put 31 in parentheses, plus 10, give me 41 centimeters. And then the next one, we'll do 2 times, open parentheses, 31, plus 4, and that will give us 66 centimeters. Okay, so now we need to verify that these answers are correct. So we said earlier that the perimeter is 177 centimeters. That means that when we add up all of the side lengths, we should get 177. So if that's the case, we need to ask ourselves, does 70 plus 41 plus 66 equal 177? Okay, so if it does, then that means we were successful, that we did our problem right. If it doesn't, that means we need to go back and check. So 70 plus 41 plus 66, does it equal 177? The correct answer is yes. Yes, it does. So that means that those are indeed the three side lengths of the triangle. So that means this side length was 70 centimeters, this side length was 41 centimeters, and this side length was 66